I want to talk to you today very briefly about how I do deals.
Dealmakers, what's up?
My vision is to completely and utterly disrupt the market for buying and selling small businesses all over the world.
So, long time ago, I used to work on Wall Street. And on Wall Street, one of the deal structures that we used to do a lot of the time was something called an LBO. I'm going to write that down, LBO, which stands for leveraged buyout. Now, leveraged buyout is a Wall Street product, but basically all an LBO is buying a business using other people's money. It could be investors' money, it could be the SBA, it could be financiers, it could be leveraging the existing resources in the business. It doesn't matter. So think about an LBO as you buying a business using other people's money. Now, there are lots and lots of different types of deals that I and my thousands of students inside of Dealmaker Wealth Society are doing. And we all boil it down to this basic principle. So if we look at a deal, so if we look at the total money that a seller is going to get when they sell the business to us, it comprises of three different elements. So the first element is any existing debt that the business has already inside of it. So that would be like you buying a house and inheriting the mortgage or the loan that the seller's taken on to actually do the deal in the first place. So let's say the business has got some payables, it's got some tax notes due, it's got a lease on a building, it's got some leases on equipment, whatever it is, bank loans, whatever it is, we are basically going to inherit those liabilities as part of the acquisition of the company. So that's number one. Then number two is, in a lot of cases, but not all cases, we'll get to that in a minute, we're going to make a closing payment. So we're going to pay the seller something at the closing table. Now, we're not putting that money into the deal. So let's say we're buying a business for $1 million total. Let's say $200,000 of it is existing debt in the business already. Let's say we've got $300,000 going in as the closing payment. And then let's say we've got $500,000 left, and that's going to be seller financing. So that is us paying for part of the business in the future, but using the company's cash flow every month, every quarter, every year of the length of the term to make the rest of those payments, just like you would lease a car. So the closing payment, that $300,000, that can come from outside sources. So it can be financing from the SBA, it could be an equity investor or a partner that's coming into the deal with you. It could be you leveraging information and assets on the balance sheet, like you can do a sale and lease back on the assets of the business. You could borrow against the accounts receivables. You could borrow against real estate if real estate is part of the actual deal structure. So we're inheriting the debt that's in the business, in this case $200,000. We're going to make a $300,000 closing payment. That's using external financing and maybe some of the internal cash that the business has that's surplus. But the bulk of the deal is going to be seller financing. Now, one of the really cool deals that we're doing a lot at the moment is something called an annuity deal structure. So on an annuity deal structure, we're not putting any money in at the closing table. So the balance of that deal, in this case, it would be $800,000, is pure seller financing. So zero money in the closing table, either from you or from anybody else. We're just inheriting the debt that's already on the balance sheet of the business, and then we're going to pay the seller over a period of time. So let's say it's an $800,000 seller note. Let's say we agree a 10-year term to be able to pay that. So we're going to be paying the seller $80,000 per year to take the business off them. So this is all about leverage buyouts. What you can also do in a leverage buyout, if you want to, is you can go to the SBA 7A loan program and they'll give you 80%, 80, of the total financing that you need to do the deal. So again, let's say it's $1 million deal structure. The SBA would kick in 80% or $800,000 of that money. However, what's really important to bear in mind is if you're paying 80 or 90% of the cash down at closing, then you can pay less for the business. The more of the cash that you put into the future of the deal, the more you'll end up paying, because that's the seller taking much more of the risk than you, the buyer. If you're going to give the seller virtually all the money at the closing table, then the seller's not really taking any risk. So that needs to be reflected in the purchase price. So we're going to get into all these different concepts over the coming weeks and months through this channel and through all these playlists. So I hope you found that really, really useful. Don't forget to hit like and hit subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Until then, bye for now.